It's very wonderful to see you on Thursday this week. Um, so let's just get right into it. I don't need any fancy intros or music. We know time is valuable. So Scott, tell us a little bit about rate shopping. People want the lowest rate, and they see these billboards, and they see ads on Facebook and on Google when they're searching. They see these wonderful rates. What do those rates mean? What are those rates?
Well, it's interesting, Daryl. I wind up answering that question almost daily. So typically, those rates that you're seeing on the billboards on Facebook, they're a combination of a couple of things. So first of all, they're typically a purchase for a property, not necessarily a refinance, and certainly not a cash out refinance, but they're looking at a credit profile of somebody who has a credit score that's nearly 800 or perfect credit. They're assuming that you're going to put 25% down, not just 3.5 to 5% down. They're also assuming that you have very little debt, so your debt to income ratio is very low. And then the property type is a single family detached home, not a condo. So if you look at all of those different factors, looking at the absolute best rate you can get, you'll find that the par rate today, putting 25% down with an 800 credit score on a single family detached home, is probably just under 5%. But if you've got a condo and you're putting 5% down and your credit is just maybe right at 700 or just slightly below 700, you're going to see that rate increase by almost a full percentage point. So your current circumstances, the amount of income you have, the type of income you have, and your credit really plays a huge part in achieving the absolute best possible rate. So if you pay your bills on time and you have a huge down payment and your credit is excellent, you're in good shape. You're probably going to get right close to that rate that you're seeing on a 30-year fixed rate on the billboards up and down the street or Facebook, or if you're Googling the different sites. So
Right.
that's how they look at those typical rates.
So really, when I see those rates, it's more of a thermometer, meaning on this perfect, if the scenario is perfect and it's low risk. So what we don't understand is we're driving by and we see the rates, or I'm at a social function and somebody says to me, what's the market going to do, or what's the rates? It's really a subjective answer because anything that's most anything advertised is presuming that you as a borrower or as an applicant to get a mortgage loan, the rates that are advertised are presuming that you are low risk, and the higher the risk, the higher the rate. Is that
Uh,
correct?
that, that's a really good, accurate description of what that looks like. I have people call me all the time. The first question they ask me is, "What's your rate?" And I said, well, it kind of depends because it's almost like gas prices. They go up and they go down. But it also depends on where you buy your gas. So let me ask you a couple of questions and let's figure out what the best situation, best circumstance is for you personally. And honestly, we really have to dive into things deeply into your finances to make sure that we put you in the best mortgage. I mean, if you're only going to keep the home for, let's say you're on a work contract and you're here in the valley for the next 3 to 5 years, an ARM option is a better rate, a better loan for you because you're only going to be using that money for 3 to 5 years. So why pay a 30-year fixed rate when we might be able to get you in an ARM that's 5 years and save you three-quarters of a point for the next 60 months. So it's
And
really to figure out what the best option is for that person that you're putting in that loan.
yeah, and you're willing to do those calculations with anybody that applies for a mortgage with you.
You bet. And oftentimes people will just call me and their first question is, well, what's the rate? And it's hard to ascertain what the rate would be for you. I can say, hey, look, in a perfect situation where you're putting 25% down and you have excellent credit, you're probably right in the 5% range today. And they said, well, I don't have 25% to put down, and we're going to buy a condo. I said, well, that's why it's important to really dig through this and spend a little bit of time. So let's talk about this and make sure that we're putting you in the right product for the right time period that fits your needs.
It's kind of like a brainstorming session to see
It is,
what's possible, because the rate that's possible that is advertised in all marketing venues is really just that perfect A paper client. And
well,
if you
it's
don't fit that profile, then you're gonna take the best of what they have and get the best rate that they can creatively.
yes. Honestly, it's a teaser rate on the billboards when you're driving up and down the freeway. It truly is a teaser rate to get you to call them.
Right.
And honestly, it's very much like that. It's they're trying to draw you in and get you taken care of. And I don't want to call it bait and switch because there's probably 3% of the population that would qualify for that type of rate. Typical example: I talked to a client who's self-employed today, and he's been 2 years self-employed. And honestly, he's done his accountant's done such a great job for him. He has absolutely no income on his federal and state income tax. We have to do a little digging in there to see what it is that we can do to help him. We can add back depreciation, add his wife or somebody else as a co-borrower to show that he actually does have income. And I have products that will fit that. But it's not the rate that's going up and down the freeway that you're seeing it when you're speeding along at 70 miles an hour.
Yeah. And this is one of the reasons it's really important to see you before you go shopping, because you got to iron out all those wrinkles that may come up in a borrower's qualification. And if those wrinkles are ironed out, it makes them a stronger candidate if they have to compete for a
Well,
home.
yeah, not only that, but for their own expectations. I mean, my first question usually is, well, what do you anticipate paying for your mortgage? What are you comfortable with paying on a monthly basis? And then we can kind of talk about that. There might be some tax savings. There might be some additional benefits to paying a little bit more per month if you're uncomfortable with a $2,000 or $3,000 payment. It may not fit into your debt to income ratio. So we may need to work on your credit for a bit and pay down some debt to get it to fit in your budget properly. So sometimes I feel like I'm a mortgage planner more than I am a mortgage loan officer, because it's
Right.
important to look to see what people's needs are, and try to look at their expectations and talk to them about their expectations before you wander down the road of putting an offer in a house and then trying to get qualified, and you're shocked to find out that your payment's $3,500 a month. That can be that can be crazy for some people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic, Scott. So I don't know how true it is or how accurate it is, but one of the statistics that is constantly floating out there is that buyers tend to look online for a house 3 to 6 months prior to when they're actually committed to buying. So it's a great time to work with you to in that mortgage planning process to make sure that they are getting the absolute best rate, because if you can help them bump their credit score up 30 to 820, then they qualify for a better rate.
That's theoretically that's true. There-
Theoretically. And you're going to
yeah.
help them do that.
Well, and a portion, your comment's interesting because it's not just your credit score. It could be the debt to income ratio. Debt to income ratio is getting close to 50%. Your rate's not going to be as good. So paying
Hmm.
down debt, having some money in savings, for some reserves is all calculated in to what that eventual rate's going to be.
Okay. All right. And if anybody listening to this right now, you can comment on this video and request more information from myself or from Scott. And you can visit our websites, destinyrealestate.com and is it Neo Home Loans? What's the
Neo Home, yep, Neo Home,
neohomeloans.com, right?
yep, yep. Or just give me a call. I'm happy to help.
Yeah. And Scott, what does Neo stand for?
Actually, Neo is new. I mean, it's the type of thing that we're seeing in banking. I think with the pandemic, a lot of new terms have come into mind, and and Neo is a refresh of what the mortgage market is. We believe that it's more important not just to sell you debt. We want to look at your overall financial perspective and see what we can do to increase your net worth. Buying property is a very, very important part of that ethos in Neo. We want to make sure that we're putting you in the right product for the right time, and we're doing with you what would increase your wealth over the next 5, 10, or 30 years. We don't want to just sell you debt.
Awesome. With that, enjoy your day.
Thank you very much, Daryl.
Or
Appreciate
your night if you're listening to this at night. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.